Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James.
So I go on stage and my microphone is on.
What? Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby.
I wanna be your lover.
Rick James and Prince apparently couldn't stand each other back in the day. And not only did Rick James himself more than publicly confirm this, so did their colleagues, including Morris Day, Bootsy Collins, and several others. And get this, their beef lasted for decades. So what sparked this reported feud between the two icons? Well, the rivalry between Mr. Cold-Blooded and the Purple One started when Prince and his band were the opening act on Rick James' tour in the 80s. At that time, Rick was the bigger act, but allegedly he added Prince to the tour's lineup to boost ticket sales because Prince was gaining steam back then.
Rick definitely had an attitude with Prince. They just was competing with one another.
Rick got mad when Prince would watch us on stage and do the same goddamn shit.
Rick would go, ooh, ooh, and his audience would go crazy every time he would do that. Prince would start doing the ooh, ooh, before Rick would come out. And Rick was like, man, you can't do that ooh, ooh stuff. That's what I do. And Prince was like, dude, you don't have a monopoly on ooh, ooh. I can do what the fuck I want to do.
I got really pissed off, and I went and told his managers. I said, look, how can I go up and do what I got to do if this dude's going to be taking my shit? It all straightened itself out. But I mean, you know, Prince was giving me hell on the road.
I remember being on shows with Rick and Prince. They would pull plugs on each other, get ready to go to blows.
So, yeah, as y'all can see, the situation between Prince and Rick James got heated. But there's more. As time went on during their tour run, Rick grew more and more frustrated with Prince. Rick's former bandmates further explained what Rick used to do while Prince was performing and vice versa.
Every show, Rick was on the side of the stage watching Prince. Prince was on the side of the stage watching Rick. They both understood where this shit was about to go.
I think Prince, if he was in this room, God bless his soul, he would say it. Prince would do his show, and then we'd do ours. And 9 times out of 10, when we got finished with our show, people forgot who the opening act was. We used to kick his little ass every night.
In a Vlad TV interview, R&B legend and Prince's childhood friend, Morris Day, shared his thoughts about what he witnessed between Rick and Prince back in the day as well, stating that he felt that Rick was more so threatened by Prince's stage performances.
I think it was a pressure thing, you know. I think it was more threatened by than hate. If I had to, you know, because Prince coming on strong, man. You know, he's gaining momentum. You know, probably kicking Rick's ass some nights, you know, and so I think it was probably more threatened, you know, by Prince than anything.
Prince's guitarist Dez Dickerson also told biographer Dave Hill that it was a rough period for Rick. We would go over like gangbusters because the black audience was just dying for something new, said Dez. Rick also began to publicly take shots at Prince. Here's what he once told Rolling Stone. I can't believe people are gullible enough to buy Prince's jive records. Prince is a mentally disturbed young man. He's out to lunch. You can't take his music seriously. In his memoir, Glow, Rick James publicly called out Prince for reportedly jacking his performance style, writing, Prince was emulating my moves like a mother. I know imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but because my act followed his, it looked like Rick James was copying Prince rather than vice versa, Rick said. Later, once Prince became even more famous, he really ticked off Rick because according to the Super Freak singer, Prince once refused to sign an autograph for Rick James's mother. Needless to say, that didn't end well. Then came the so-called revenge plots they each had against the other. The you-know-what really hit the fan after Rick got tired of feeling like he was losing to the new kid on the block, Prince, and Rick handled it in a true Rick James-like fashion. According to Tina Marie, James got back at Prince by allegedly stealing Prince's programmed synthesizers and using them on his own 1981 album, Street Songs, and then sending them back to him with a thank you card. Now that was really cold-blooded, but Rick's victory came to a screeching halt when Prince reportedly stepped up to get payback in the worst way. Then came Prince's and Rick's girl group rivalry, so to speak. When Joanne McDuffie, the lead singer for Rick James's 80s group, Mary Jane Girls, met Rick, she was working part-time as a jazz singer and record store employee in Rick's hometown of Buffalo, New York.
Boy, you can just best believe I'm the only girl in your life.
Rick told me when I became one of the background singers that he was starting a female group.
Joanne confirmed what Rick wrote in his memoir, that he had the idea for a sexy, edgy girl group first and had apparently told Prince about it. But after their longtime feud at that time, of course, Prince was reportedly sitting quietly in the cut, plotting his payback against Rick, and he ultimately did the unthinkable. He stole Vanity.
At the time, there weren't a lot of them. The biggest thing that came down the pike at that point was the Supremes. Rick's idea was to create a group of women that were not wearing the same dress and the same gloves and the same wig and the same shoes. He said he wanted to create a female group. And I guess he put forth that idea to Prince, and Prince did it first.
So, Prince reportedly got revenge on Rick by formulating a girl group first with one of Rick's then artists, Vanity, who was originally supposed to be the lead singer for his then new group, Mary Jane Girls. Word on the old school curb is that after Prince called Vanity and allegedly persuaded Vanity to accompany him as his date to the American Music Awards back then, Vanity never looked back and became the lead singer of Prince's girl group, Vanity 6, instead. Rick was mad as hell.
Rick, he's pretty pissed about that. But anyway, I became lead singer for the group that he produced, the Mary Jane Girls.
A few years after they toured together, Rick eventually confessed that after he'd added Prince to his tour, he was a bit jealous of the Purple Rain hitmaker.
I was very probably upset with him more than anything, and like any artist, man, I mean, who comes and then another artist, comes up and kind of like, all of a sudden, all this, you got all this adulation from people and stuff, and then all of a sudden you get this other artist who's getting that same thing. I mean, if there was jealousy, there's going to be jealousy. I mean, it's like a natural thing. I don't think it's anything weird out of any musician. I think when a musician has been in business as long as I have, you're going to see these things happen. Mm-hmm. And I managed to be one to go through it. I mean,
Decades later, Rick's and Prince's beef seemed just as shady as ever. Well, at least from Rick's side of the coin. We all remember the classic Chappelle Show episode when the late Charlie Murphy told that hilarious story about the time he and his friends played Prince and his crew in a basketball match, calling it the shirts versus the blouses. But what was equally as classic were the details he threw in about his sometimes hilariously hostile friendship with Rick James. It was during the uncut version of Rick James's interview for that same episode that the cold-blooded crooner still found a way to throw epic shade at his longtime rival Prince.
There's a story that goes around Hollywood to this day about this basketball game that went down by this little short androgynous skirt, high heel, fishnet stock going, wannabe man type human being, and Charlie and them playing in basketball. I don't even want to mention the name and give me no credit, right? He calls himself a matter of fact, he don't change his name. He don't even have a name, so it don't even make no difference. He got some kind of sign. Anyway, Charlie done played him some basketball. This I'm just showing you where Charlie and them is at. I'm showing you all this masculinity that beat Rick up. Okay? All this masculinity we talking about. Now he played this little thing who ain't 4'9", some basketball. They challenged each other. It was like the shirts versus the blouses, Charlie called it. Do you know that this little thing beat Charlie and them in high heel stilettos? Can you imagine? And then went and made pancakes for him. I wouldn't even tell nobody that. I wouldn't even tell nobody. And Charlie was talking about, yeah, he beat it. Yeah, we went and we played physical basketball, and he went and beat us. And we called it. He said he was whipping all over the court. We couldn't stop him. He's like Alvin Iverson. Alvin Iverson, my ass. I would have tripped that little sucker up so bad. That little shit. He would have made it to the hoop.
Rick confessed that he said all of that about his friend Charlie and his rival Prince because Charlie always tried to jokingly annoy him by quote-unquote throwing Prince in his face.
He used to do stuff like, he used to throw Prince at me all the time. Like, he used to say things like, Rick, when Prince walked up to you right now and said, I'm gonna beat your ass. I just said, Charlie, what are you talking about? No, just say Prince walked up to you and smacked you across your face. What would you do? And I said, the same thing I'd do if you do it, smack you across your face. So he said, no, you crazy, now you're talking out of line. And I'd give him a smack. And that'd be that. What, he gonna smack me back? I'm Rick James, he's Charlie Murphy. Huh? What's he gonna do?
As we all already know, Rick James was quite the character, and his epic interview clips just further confirm why. It's clear to see why he and the late, great Charlie Murphy were friends. They were both hella hilarious. It's also clear to see that likely, up until Rick James's last days, he had beef and probably some slight lingering jealousy of Prince. For Prince's side of all of this, he never spoke publicly about the situation because that apparently wasn't his style. But two things are certain. He whipped up on Charlie and his homies something serious in that basketball game. And he also clearly had Rick James livid back in the day just by doing what he did best, being an excellent artist. May each of these kings continue resting in power, and we thank them for the timeless memories they've graced us all with. All right, I love old school music, fam. If y'all dig this video, feel free to tap those like, comment, and subscribe buttons and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more old school gems like this one. We sincerely appreciate all of you for watching, and until next time, peace. I love old school music, old school news with a new point of view.